Resilience Hub, and the Resilience Hub is the home of the Resilience campaign, and it aims to mobilize non-state action on resilience and build a movement of actors on the resilience agenda. The Africa Hub will be running until the 22nd of September, so we hope that you can stay till the very end. And we also have lots of mechanisms where we're going to be sharing the messages coming from the Africa Hub into the main blue zone of the COP Resilience Hub. Who will be doing an infographic of the session. Sonia, she'll see her on Zoom. And we're also taking lots of notes and we're doing key messages, etc. So there are lots of mechanisms by which we will be sharing the messages from the session. We're also doing lots of live tweeting. And I've noticed for this session, Twitter has been very active. So you've got a whole movement of people out there waiting to join the session, I think. So it's wonderful to see the Twitter feed. So just, yeah, I'd like to just welcome you to the session and hand over to Marika, and all the best. I'm very, very excited to be part of it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And as all live online events, we're having our small little challenges in organizing and getting everybody on board. So my name is Marike van Schie. I am the project manager of the Craft project, and we're hosting this session, and we're very delighted to have you here. However, I am supposed to hand over to a moderator who is on her way, who will take over the session later on. So today, the Craft project is a project in 3 countries, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. And we want to share some of our experiences about climate adaptation, working with smallholder farmers, but also with small and medium enterprises, and investing in climate adaptation through investments, through working on different pathways on how to adapt to climate change. Now, so we have the session organized in the following manner. We will give you some insights on climate change and the crops that we work on. And after that, we will talk with those different enterprises and farmers and look further on what has worked, how do farmers adapt to climate change, and what can be done by small and medium enterprises, including cooperatives. And at the end, we will also talk with some of our partners that have supported this process. So, so I don't have so much to talk. It is more about hearing from our partners how they have worked on climate adaptation. But before that, I want to invite Godfrey, who is our senior agribusiness advisor in Tanzania. He has been working with SMV and with Craft since the beginning, and he will explain a little bit more background of the project, but especially climate change and climate change for the food crops that we are working in. So Godfrey, you're very welcome, and I would say take the floor.
Thank you, Maliki. As you have introduced me, my name is Godfrey Kabuka. I'm the senior agronomist working for Craft project at SNB here in Tanzania, based in Dar es Salaam. I'm going to briefly explain a little bit about what Craft is all about and how it has been involved in the climate change perspectives. So in a nutshell, The craft is a 5 years project implemented in the 3 countries of East Africa, mostly Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, funded by Foreign Ministry of Dutch government with a budget of around 36 million euro. It's implemented by SNV as a co-implementer together with other 4 consortium partners, mainly Agri, Rabobank, CCAF, and Wageningen. So the craft as a project, it's acronym of abbreviation of 5 names, as you can see, which stands for Climate Resilient Agribusiness for Tomorrow. It was designed to address several challenges, but mostly those related to climate change and its impact, as we have pioneered the existence of increased drought, among other impacts that affect food production. And there is also a large number of vulnerable groups that are affected with this climate change, especially the smallholder farmers all over the 3 countries. And also the challenge of growing population, because there is an increase in population, but yet the farming method remain the same. And for that case, craft called upon an integrated approach to ensure that both public and private partners are acting together to address this challenge of climate change. The next slide. Okay. Yeah, so in order to address these challenges, craft had to identify a number of agri SMEs and the COPs through a special climate innovation and investment facility, whereby in the entire 3 countries, a total of 54 SMEs and the COP were enrolled into the program to run a value chain climate change project in the 7 value chain, measuring in potato, sunflower, sorghum, green gram, bean, soybean, and sesame. So to attract investors, public investment into this program, the craft through this facility were able to solicit money or funding equivalent to 12,600,001 601,812 euro, whereas the craft itself has induced like 7,314,529 euro. So this is the call for all partners that for private sector to invest into adaptation strategies, there should be an incentives that will attract them to see the future and the business potential of investing into those adaptation measures. Yeah, so the climate change is real, and during the various monitoring visits, also reading from other actors in the climate change, for example, Africa 21, it estimated the melting of snow to Mount Kilimanjaro, and it also called the attention for all actors to ensure that there is a mitigation aspect that should be kept in place to ensure we mitigate the effect of climate change, and also the dryness of crops in the various areas, especially in Tanzania, where I'm coming from. For the past 2 years, the central part of Tanzania, northern part of Tanzania, have experienced a prolonged drought, which caused to poor performance of crops, like how you can see in the image there at the center, and also the melting of this snow or ice from various mountains, especially Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Everest, and the several other mountains across East Africa. So for this case, the climate change is really happening, and there is a need for climate action by all actors. So for the action to be in place, we need to understand what are the climate information services that the partners or the actors should understand. The same has been mainstreamed by the IPCC report that the effort to combat the effect and the risk of climate change should not be given to a sole individual, but it has to be the holistic approach toward the action. You can refer to the report in the chapter 17. They stress the need for enablers and other practitioners in the climate change to co-work to ensure that these climate services, especially those related to production, to communication, and use of climate information, to be applied in making decisions for any farming or business activities. So Craft, having known that the need for acting on the climate risk is a whole nation or for whole sectors and actors, it conducted the so-called climate risk assessment. The climate risk assessment was meant to solicit experience and the perception of actors across the 7 value chain. How do they perceive the existence of climate change, and what adaptation strategies are there to adopt to this climate risk, and what business opportunities that might be available as a result of identifying these adaptation strategies. So the essence of the climate risk assessment was to inform the large audience that climate change not only are there to cause troubles, but it is also there to create business opportunities to a wide number of actors. So following the climate risk assessment, which comprised of several other factors and action toward it, the program also went ahead identifying and informing the wide audience about the climate projection and its impact on crop productivity, and also it went ahead assessing how each actors along the value chain is affected by this climate change, and so that we have to come up with a collective adaptation strategies which will favor each of the actors along the 7 value chain that the project is targeting. So on a nutshell, we did the map, the projection on the rainfall, and for the case of Tanzania or East Africa in general, we found that the projection and the modeling we did, it showed that the long rain season, especially in the March, April, May season, there is a decreasing trend in most part of East Africa. That is, there will be a prolonged less rainfall for the rain season in most part of the East Africa by 2050, because the projection was made between 2020, 30 and 2050. So this one that I'm presenting is for the period of 2050. And also for the case of Tanzania, both and October, November, December, there will be a decreasing trend, especially to the south and southeastern part of the country. That is the area where most of the selected value chain are grown. So what does this imply to the productivity of the value chain that Craft is targeting? For the case of potato, taking the case of Tanzania, currently potato is grown in the southern highland of Tanzania and some parts of western part and northern part of Tanzania. But as per climatic change that is going to happen in the 2050 period, you find the productivity is decreasing partially in those areas. And for that case, during the MAM, which is the March, April, May season, there won't be much changes in the yielding potential of potato in the current potato growing areas. But if you check the same on the OND season, you find there is a huge decrease in yield of potato in the current potato growing areas. For example, in most part of Njombe and Iringa and Rukwa, which are currently growing potato, in the next 30 years, you will find them are not yielding the same potential as it is now, showing that there's a need for someone to understand where to invest if he or she has to do the potato farming. But if we take this, information and knowing that there is going to be a decrease in yield in the current potato growing areas, what does it tell for an investor? So that's why Kraft came up with another option of dealing with climate change. It's called the Suitability Map. So the Suitability Maps, it's there to inform investor or someone who want to involve in the potato value chain, where he or she should put more emphasis when you want to establish a potato business. So when we are saying suitability map, we are concerning about the agronomic performance. That is, how will those areas be favorable for growing a potato for that case? Or how will it be potential to grow, let's say, sesame or sorghum or whatever? So we analyze the suitability of the soil in terms of its agronomic performance. That is, which nutrient does it have, which nutrient does not have, and what does it mean to the crop performance? And also, we are seeing the land use constraint, because sometimes the area may be suitable, but it's a national reserve. So we also needed to be sure that whatever we want to invest, and even if it's suitable, but how is it planned to do? Is it as a national reserve, or is it an open space? So these are the kind of information that constitute the crop suitability. The same applies to socioeconomic factor. Sometimes it's suitable, but it's a mining area. So again, these are the key information that somebody need to understand to be sure that I need to invest in the particular value chain. Yeah, so for the case of potato, again, you find that now during this period, the Southern Highland and some few parts of central part of Tanzania are suitable for growing potato as it is. But for the next years, you find there's a shift in suitability for potato production in Tanzania for this case. You find that majority of the area that will be suitable is now at the central part of Tanzania. And this is correlated to the fact that in those agroecological zones, by then, they will be experiencing more rainfall than the Southern Highland part of Tanzania. So that is the reason why it is going to be suitable to grow potato in those areas. So suitability in potato growing areas will going to be substantially reduced. But it's going to be reduced if no action is put in place. But with the meeting, a webinar like this, which inform wide audience about the effect, then it's time to take action to ensure that what is available now, we maintain, we sustain, and we want it to be continuing available and to make the areas suitable for growing potato. So after knowing the effect and where exactly the potato for the case of Tanzania will be grown in the next 30 years, what are the business potential that might be existing in those areas? So there are a number of options that as agent of change in climate change, we need to mainstream to our actors. Among one is the opportunity for irrigation. So for the case of where there will be less rainfall, it means we need to invest on irrigation technology. And also For the case where there will be no opportunity for growing potato, we need to diversify, introduce another resilient crop that are suitable for in that areas. So it's crop diversification, and the other one is on crop insurance, because the weather is always being forecasted and sometimes it's not stable. So for the smallholder farmers to be able to sustain their means of farming, they needed to insure their crop, they needed to insure everything that are pertaining to agriculture. In a nutshell, to conclude, that is, there is high evidence that climate change is happening, and for we as international agents and a group of climate change actors, we need to emphasize on the existing business opportunities. And the first one, which is preferable, is the presence of climate smart seed. The seed that mature earth, resistance to drought, resistance to disease. So they are the one that should be mainstreamed and be given to farmers for them to boost their productivity. And also we may need to establish the seed bank, whereby a certain place will be dedicated to produce seed and is stored to be distributed to other areas in the long run. But also for the drought, we need to invest on rainwater harvest, especially those that require minimum use of water, but yet yielding the intended result, that is drip irrigation. And also we need to emphasize on the carbon and nutrient smart, the practice like mulching, minimum tillage, planting of trees. These are the business opportunities as well as the strategies which will emphasize and ensure they are less concerned about climate change. And the other one is on the weather smart information, the forecasted weather information in terms of weekly, monthly, or seasonal. This also needed to be mainstreamed as well. And the last one is on the marketing potential. We need to ensure that there's a solid market system which unite all the actors toward a particular challenge. Here we are talking about financial institutions being able to provide financing option to companies or to farmers, as well as the company to provide market information to farmers, and also the contract farming as a whole, because it's there to ensure that there is a unified link between all of the actors toward a particular problem. So that's all I wanted to share at this time. I think I will hand over to moderator for further discussion. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Godfrey. That was very insightful, and of course you have shown us the few examples related to Tanzania and related to potato, but those same type of information, those same types of suitability maps, we have also done it for the other crops. Now I want to hand over to Frida Cartieri, if I pronounce it correctly, because she will be moderating the rest of the session. She's my dear colleague from Rwanda, who I had the
I think we lost Marique there.
Marique, you are lost.
I think Frida can take over. We can begin with the next panel, the first panel.
Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can. Yes, yeah, we hear you.
Yes, I'm going to take over from where Marique has left, just so we can keep the conversations going. Thank you very much, Geoffrey, for that very elaborate introduction. My name is Frida Gacheri. I work with SNV Rwanda as the agri-food sector leader. And I'm going to be moderating the remaining part of this afternoon's discussion. It's a pleasure to have everyone on board. And I'm looking forward to a very productive and interesting, stimulating conversational afternoon. And just to start, for this first session, we are going to have 3 actors who will be explaining the experiences in climate smart adaptation in their different capacities. And they'll also be talking to us about the pathways of adoption that exist for farmers. To start with, I'm going to just call Laureen from Starlight Cooperative. Laureen, are you there, Laureen?
Yes, Frida.
Yes, Laureen, could you please introduce yourself? And while doing that, you can also share some of the knowledge you have on climate change and what risks affect your company or your sector that you're working with. And among others, the constraints that you have observed related to climate change with the crops you are involved in. Welcome,
Thank you.
Laureen. Yeah.
Thank you, Frida. I'm delighted to be a part of this panel. My name is Laureen Mwikali Njuguna from Nakuru, Kenya. I work for Starlight Farmers Cooperative Society as the general manager. And Starlight, currently we are impacting the lives of around 2,000 farmers. And we have come to the realization that climate change is one of the biggest and complex challenges we are experiencing in this world today. And as a cooperative, we have also realized there is need to come up with proactive measures for adaptation to the climate change and also holistic approaches. Our farmers have been going through a number of challenges, and those are the challenges which we have been addressing. Number one, we have been experiencing change in weather patterns, and this comprise of which has affected even the rain patterns and temperatures. And also there has been a challenge of accessibility to affordable seeds which are certified to enable the farmers have the required outputs according to the expected yields. Also, we have been experiencing a challenge to access to credit and also affordable farm inputs to farmers. We have also been experiencing a challenge in storage, appropriate storage, especially for us, we do potato seed certification, and storage with issues of temperature change and all that have been quite challenging. And also issues of labor. There have been unreliable and costly labor and use of techniques which are not women and youth friendly. And lastly, among many others, which I will not mention, also lack to weather information, which is more appropriate and customized in a way that a farmer can understand and know what type of action to take. And with these constraints, we have been partnering with through the CRAFT project with SNV and other partners. And a number of the things or approaches we have taken up in the community. Number one is ensuring provision of quality or certified seeds to farmers, because we discovered the farmers don't have the seeds at their locality. And we have come in to bridge the gap to ensure that the farmers can access the seeds and not only access them in an affordable way. And we are doing this through even provision of credit, the seeds in form of credit. Also, we have been conducting trainings on climate smart agriculture. We have empowered trainers who are village-based and are training the farmers in group setup. They are using a simplified curriculum on climate smart agriculture and ensuring that the farmers really understand what the approaches they need to take. Also, we have been setting up demonstration farms, showcasing different techniques. We have been doing showcasing like water harvesting and conservation, use of the certified seeds, issues of mulching, among others, minimal tillage. And we have been doing this in a training setup using the demonstration farms to ensure the farmers really understand by practicing these techniques, and they are able to contextualize them and use them in their own farms. We have also been bridging the gap by ensuring farmers have access to affordable farm inputs, and they're able to access these inputs not only on cash, but also on credit, because we have discovered when the farmer doesn't have money and they don't have a way of accessing the inputs, then they are not in a position to implement the techniques that we have been training them. Again, we have been providing weather information, and the way we have been providing our weather information is getting the weather information, then simplifying the weather information in a way that the farmer can understand by giving them advice on, depending on the amount of rains they are expecting, or depending on how the season looks like, the action plan they need to put in place. Again, we have been providing mechanization services, because we discovered with mechanization, we are able to bring on board women, we are able to bring on board youth, because they make the work less intense, they make the work less time consuming and less costly. And also through mechanization, we are ensuring soil conservation and water conservation, because there is less soil disturbance. Like when you use something, a machine like the chisel plow, then we ensure we don't disturb the soil a lot when we plant potatoes, because I said we are in the potato value chain. When we plant using the potato planter, we ensure we dispense the seeds and fertilizer and mold at the same time. That way we don't keep on disturbing the soil. And lastly, we are providing soil testing services to our farmers to ensure even as they manage their soil, they understand the approaches to use and the needs of their soil. So thank you, Frida. Yes.
Thank you so much for that background, Laureen, and for the introduction. Next, I'm going to call Diana. Diana from EFF. Diana, are you there? And please introduce yourself and also tell us more about your work with climate change, which crops you are involved in, and also how you've been interacting or what your knowledge has been on the climate risks and how they affect your sector. In 2 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Frida, and I'm happy to be in this meeting today. So as mentioned, I'm Diana Michael, I'm CFO at East Africa Fruits. So East Africa Fruits is based in Tanzania as well, and we are also in the potato value chain. Specifically, we as a business, we are off-takers of produce from smallholder farmers. So we have partnered with Craft specifically on the potato value chain in the southern highlands of Tanzania. We work with 5,900 farmers to date, of 40% of them being female, and 38% of them as youth, between 18 to 35 years old. So East Africa Fruits partnership with Craft specifically is on engaging smallholder farmers in climate smart agribusiness trainings and guiding them using different support, like demonstration farms, trainers on climate smart agribusiness, so that the training can help them to improve their yield, but also to be able to adapt to the climate issues. So the main risk that we face on climate, which are related to climate, as knowing that we are dealing directly with potato, as Godfrey mentioned, are mostly around the changes in temperature, very high increase or rise in temperature in Tanzania, but also sometimes we have extreme precipitation. So we have floods in some areas and drought. So all these result in having less yield for farmers as compared to what they expect, and as a result causing less productivity. So to mitigate this strategy, these risks, we work together with Craft and these smallholder farmers to train them on being resilient to the climate changes. So these includes, among others, using quality seeds, some techniques good frame as well. We have mulching techniques, irrigation on the farms, and we do this as well using demonstration plots and with a methodology to train trainers, so as to have the knowledge pass to the other farmers within a certain village. Yeah, so that's all on East Africa Foods. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana. Thank you. And I'm going to invite Malimi. Malimi, can you talk about or introduce yourself first and tell us about your experience with climate change and the constraints you've observed within the value chains of the crops you're working in, and probably what has been the adaptation options that have been mainstreamed by your company or cooperative. Yeah. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Mari Milona, agricultural economics, and currently I'm working for the Binjo Cooperative Society. The cooperative is located in the southern highland of Tanzania in Njombe region, and is among the business champions implementing crafty project. We are working with around 1,142 farmers. I would also like to share with regard to climate smart adaptation options. The climate risk noted during where we experienced the prolonged drought period at the beginning of the season, and this led to low productivity of the crop, because you find that most of farmers, they have to do intense management of the farm. They have to apply more inputs to a number of, I would say,
Marimi, we seem to be having a problem hearing you clearly.
Okay, I said the climate risk led to a number of constraints to farmers, and the few to mention include intensive field management. Farmers are incurring high cost to maintain their field because they have to apply insecticides, fungicides, because of rainfall, as well. We experienced for the last seasons, but also of the crop, and therefore at the end of the day, farmers are getting low margin in terms of any options mainstreamed by the seed variety. We are promoting the use of improved seed variety so that to minimize the risk, but the appropriate use of fertilizer, insecticides, fungicides, and the other inputs to enhance the productivity. Irrigation practices to some areas also we are promoting.
Thank you very much for that, Marimi, for the introduction. And lastly, we are going to hear from Fatma. Fatma from Befe. Can you please introduce yourself so we can move to the next session? And please, let's do this in 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all the participants and fellow panelists. My name is Abdul Swak from BFA Foods in Bale. We are the processing company and adding value to selected cereals and grains. Our engagement with the project is in relation to increase the improved production of soybean, and we are working with over 3,000 farmers who are engaged in climate smart production of soybean. And some of the climate smart risks the project was actually addressing are those that were hitting hard farmers, including drought, poor variety of seed that farmers were using, which actually affected the quantity produced for the company, but also poor harvest technologies that they were using, and lack of proper access to information. For example, insurance, where to get the quantity seed and other recommended agro input tools and services that the farmers needed. That's what we are on, and climate smart is an interesting topic because it tells the future of food, but also of our living. So I'm honored to be part of the event and looking forward to much more discussions going forward. Thank you. Frida, you are muted. Frida, you are muted.
Thank you for that. Fatima, while at it, while still on the mic, virtual mic, you talk about the adaptation options that were more challenging to be adopted by your farmers. Did you get that, Fatima?
Okay. Are you getting me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Some of the options that came out quite challenging for BFA and farmers who are working with were insurance and soil testing. And on the side of the insurance, the farmers, for example, lacked real life experiences of farmers that have initially benefited from insurance. So it was very difficult for them to believe that there would be compensation at the end of the day in case of annual occurrence in terms of weather and other risks that they insured against. However, upon receipt of information and the insurance package, the farmers were very excited, but there was a lack of real life experience that the farmers actually preferred to use as a reference for them to adapt to subscribing to insurance. There's also, along insurance as well, there's an element of, I think, of policy, something that I don't want to go into that deep, but while the second season, the rollout was low, because the craft project was funding sharing farmers, and the intention was to lower costs for the farmers, subsidize for them, so that they are able to take up the benefits that come with insurance. Now, season 2 was expected to be the highest, to have the highest farmers enrolling, subscribing for the premium. But you know, when the government of Uganda read the budget, they had not yet decided on whether they were subsidizing for the farmers or not. So insurance the subsidy was not applied on the farmers who already used to the government subsidizing for them. The other challenging one also was soil testing. When we introduced soil testing in our CSA practices is because we wanted to let the farmers know where the improved seed is going before they are able to plant the seed, know what seed, if they have any IPM, integrated pest management, which one, what nutrients are the soils lacking. So what we did, farmers did not see, they don't see the urgency of testing the soil before planting the seed. So they are still stuck in the traditional way of handling farm activities. We've been doing this before. So there is a lot of learning, exposure, and then something that came out strongly also during our activities was the farmer field schools. So we need more of this to have the farmers come together and share experiences and inspire and motivate each other for them to adapt to the CSA practices.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Fatima, for that. Thank you, Fatima, for that. I'm going to end this session here. We'll take a break, and in the next session, we'll continue with the discussions. And over to you, Marik.
Yes, we have a couple slides with messages from the farmers around the work we're doing. Frida, I think we can start with the next group while we finish off the slides. You're muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now, everyone?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, welcome back. And in the next session, we'll be talking about investments in climate from an investor's perspective, or from people who are really putting a lot of efforts in terms of investments to mitigate or to deliver models that improve resilience. To start with, I'm going to invite Nancy from Queenam. Nancy, please introduce yourself and tell us more about what you've observed about the constraints that are related to climate change within the products or the value chains that you're working in. Welcome, Nancy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Mwangi, founder and director, Queenam Investments. We take this opportunity to thank Craft for giving us an opportunity to partner together. Having worked in this project for over, now I think this is our second year, almost coming to an end of the project. We have gone through a lot of challenges and we have been able to overcome quite a number of them. So to me, when people are discussing them as a challenge, to us, we're on the other end seeing them as opportunities, which is a very good sign that we have been able to go through them, and now we are seeing them as opportunities. When we were starting the project, we had issues with the usage of the improved seeds because in the beginning, most of our seeds that we used, they had poor germination, and we had to make our farmers plant them again. And then there is a season whereby we experienced drought, and then we still had the farmers to do replanting, and some of them we had to encourage them to do short-term crops with the earlier germination. So the main challenges that we were having initially were on the soil testing, the spraying services. Farmers didn't know how to do threshing. They were using hands. So at the end of the season, you could find the produce was of poor quality. And then we had a very high risk on post-harvest management. Over 30% of the produce that they were selling to us, it was being counted as rubbish because farmers didn't know the best practice to use when it comes to harvesting, threshing, how to dry their crops. But with the intervention of the trainings that we have gone through under the craft project, we have been able to embrace all those challenges and we have been able to conquer quite a number of them. This has been made possible by our very able team of the TOTs, whom I'm very confident that even when we come to the end of the project, we have sustainable program with them because now we have been able to learn on all the modules from the crop, from the pest management, planting, and even the post-harvest management. As a company, being an SME or us viewing it from the business side of view, we embrace our customer, our farmer. To us, we don't see them as farmers per se, but they are our basic clients because they form the basis of our business and they are the greatest pillars of our business. So with the TOT, who are the main contact with the farmers, we have made sure that the modules that they are training them, they are not just training them for the sake of training. They are dealing with those challenges directly head on, reduce those challenges as much as possible. When it comes to soil testing, we have empowered our TOTs. Most of them now, they have their soil testing machines. They are doing the soil testing at a fee. So to them, it's a business opportunity. We have, given that, I forgot to mention the setup of our farmers. Majority of them, over 70 are women and over 40% are youths. So it's a way of creating business. And my background, I'm a banker by profession, and I'm able to, I tried to improve their livelihoods, their income, so that they don't see this project and then at the end of the project, they go away and then I'm left with no business. I had to look for the business continuity even after the project. And that's why I modeled my concept in such a way that beyond craft, the Quinam will still remain relevant in the market. And so
thank you, Nancy. Allow me to come in here. We'll pursue further the models that Quinam is using to deliver some of these services. And next, I'm going to invite Rachel from Isowelu Cooperative for the introductions. And Rachel, while at it, you can also tell us more about your understanding of climate risks that are affecting the cooperative and the opportunities or the pathways that you've taken to adapt in these practices or in the face of climate change. Rachel?
Hi, everyone. Hello?
Yes, Rachel, we can hear you.
I'm Rachel Japan, Extension Officer from Isowelu AMCOS. The AMCOS located in Tanzania in Njombe region. And we started to work with craft last year in potato production at the value chain. We as AMCOS, we face risk and challenges related to adaptation of climatic change. And first, it's a increasing of temperature, which is lead to raw production. And then we have a delaying of rainfall, that we have an even distribution of rainfall. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Rachel. Go
and
ahead.
Then we face a challenge of lack of enough seed. And then for the adaptation option, that we as AMCOS we work with is irrigation, that we established a 5 dam of irrigation, and we have 5th farmer that have their individual farm. And then we have the issue of agricultural insurance to our farmer at the one of adaptation option for the issue of climatic change. Then we have the
Rachel, you're muted.
Intercropping are the one of the technology that we disseminated to our farm.
We've lost Rachel there. We've lost Rachel there, and still we've heard about the interventions and the approach they are taking. So to move forward, I'm going to call on Felix from Sebei to introduce yourself and tell us more about the main constraints that you've observed related to climate change with the crop you're involved in. And while at it, Felix, you could also talk about the climate smart practices and technologies that are disseminated to your beneficiaries.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Felix Pemboy, and work with Sebei Farmers Circle Cooperative in Uganda and the eastern part of the country. We have working particularly in the sunflower value chain and working with 5,400 farmers in this region. Glad to talk to this team today, and we worked with the craft for the last 2 years, and after identifying key constraint that we had in the sunflower value chain, we had the problem of drought. Farmers were growing sunflower, but with the drought, they were having losses, season in, season out. And interestingly, these were our members as a cooperative where we are sourcing from them savings, but also giving them credit. And so we needed to address the constraints in there. And with the drought, we had farmers even having 100% loss. They were having 50%. Sometimes they would get good yields, but there were embedded challenges in it. And we piloted 5 interventions to address the risks of drought. And the key to it was to ensure that our members are able to access drought-tolerant sunflower seed. And to do that, we had to work with importers of sunflower seed in the country, sign supply agreements, and we would source the seed and ensure that we deliver to our farmers through a model. We're working with the extension staff and the agents, but also we had to integrate crop insurance such that in the extreme of the weather changes, that there is no rain for a very prolonged time, at least crop insurance would help to mitigate that. But also we thought sharing weather information was so key, and we worked closely with the farmers, sharing with them whatever information we get from the National Meteorological Authority, and informing them about the onsets of rain, need to prepare land, plant, and maybe may not have the time, but that also, while it was working, we faced the challenge of accuracy of the data from the Meteorological Authority. So it's not yet very successful, but it's a very necessary service to the farmers. So
thank you, Felix. Thank you, Felix. Coming back to you, Nancy. You talked about not ending beyond craft, and you're looking for sustainability. So I would want to hear from you, among the many or the different services that are being subsidized by the program, what and why will you continue with such services once the program support ends? Nancy?
Okay, beyond the project, I said being an SME, this is our main source of livelihood. And so because we already have the farmers on board, we have the off-takers whom they're giving us huge volumes, we will still have to continue with these practices because we have seen their benefits. One of them, which is straightforward, is on the post-harvest management, which has been our key area. We have been able to improve on our volumes that we supply in both quantity and quality, courtesy of the trainings that our TOTs have been providing to our farmers in terms of usage of tarpaulin to make sure the grain is clean, and storage, packaging, drying the crop to the required moisture. You see, those are things that we cannot let go. It's something that we have to continue, even with the new farmers that we are still continuing to recruit. We have to continue training them on the same. When it comes to the issue of pre-season, it was also another thing that we have learned, which is so paramount, because that's where now the farmers, when they are doing their planting, we will still continue ensuring that the spacing is done in order. Our TOTs, they're also seeing a business opportunity because now they will be doing the soil testing for the farmers at a very subsidized fee. So the farmers will be sure of the type of fertilizer that they are going to use on their farms. Our TOTs, we are going to ensure that they will forever be able, the seeds that we get from the craft, we have put them on a revolving fund to make sure that beyond the project, we still be having seeds that we are giving to the farmers. And when they harvest the crop, they pay back the amount for the seed. Then we revolve that fund to get another set of improved seed for the next season. Those are things that before we never used to know about them. And now we have seen they are working tremendous for us, and it's improving our business. Another thing we have seen so important is on the minimum tillage. We are ensuring that despite the fact that we got support of very few mechanization equipment, we are trying, even from the company level, to see if we can be able to increase on some more, or even look for ways to outsource for more planters, reapers, and tractors, because most of our farmers have now been able to embrace the difference between the conventional way of doing it and doing it in the climate smart way. Because if they compare, as we speak, so far we have been able to do almost 20 demonstration sites and conducted field days, and farmers have been able to see a practical scenario of using a conventional way vis-a-vis a smart, climate smart way. And now all of them, they want to go that direction because there is minimum, they use lesser money, and at the end of the day, they make more money. And as a business, we are trying to train them to view it from an economic perspective, not just doing farming in a normal way.
Thank you, Nancy, for those insights. Felix, coming back to you, of the different service delivery models that you've been having, which one has worked best? And for example, you talked about different models. For example, you talked of embedded and brokering. Of the two, which has a greater impact, and how do you make this more sustainable from your experience with the different actors you've worked with? Felix.
Thank you. Most of our services are embedded, and we've integrated it into our products and services as an institution. And it has worked best. We, of course, also have had some brokered services with some IT companies, and maybe also at the starting point with the insurance company, but we've now embedded this. So we will be continuing with more of embedding our services into the business, such that even the seed that we are availing to our farmers, it's now a product. we finance it, we ensure that we manage the process of seed distribution through our agents, through our staff, through the farmer group leaders, and we've integrated that deep into our business, and we'll continue doing that. Similarly, with the financing, access to PHH equipment, financing, access to seed, even the credit that we give for various production needs at farm level, it's now within. Initially, we had linked them to banks, but now it's a credit product. These are credit products under the institution, and we'll continue giving farmers and grow that direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felix. In the next session, I would like to talk about investing in adaptation technologies led by our panelists. And I'll start with Job from ILRI. Job, can you introduce yourself and tell us more about how SICAV has supported craft projects with the different interventions? Job, over to you.
Thank you very much. Of course, Dr. John Recha was to have made this presentation, but I'm now making the presentation on his behalf. He is engaged elsewhere. My name is Joab Osumba, and I am in the climate information team. Now, I've been asked to, I wanted to share. I don't know if I'm allowed to share. I can see I'm not yet allowed. Am I allowed to share, or I can read it from my side?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, fine. I've been asked to. Yes, I've been asked to make a presentation on how we used farmer field schools as a method to train farmers on climate adaptation practices. How the field school integrated climate and how we can apply the practices for the field school. Let me just briefly say what the farmer field school is about. It's a bottom-up approach that focuses majorly on agroecosystem analysis, and it does a lot of experimentation, it does a lot of participatory technology development, integrated pest management. And for it to work, it must have a field site where farmers go to study every week. And the curriculum must be modeled around a commodity or a resource. It can be a plant, an animal, soil, it can be water, any other thing. And then the key strategy is about observation and knowledge generation. Yeah, observation and yeah, okay.
Go ahead, Job. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can say, and you can now see it.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm saying that the farmer field school method is basically a bottom-up approach, and it focuses on agroecosystem analysis, integrated pest management, experiments, and participatory technology development. For it to be used, we must have a field site where the demonstrations and experiments are going to be done, where observations are going to be done. It uses a curriculum which has modules around a commodity, which can be a plant, an animal, or soil, or any other resource. And the key strategy for farmer field school is observation and knowledge cogeneration. And now it is on that knowledge cogeneration that we now use farmers' experiences to do traditional knowledge in information generation on climate, because they have indicators in the villages which they usually use in the absence of conventional climate information. There are indicators in the villages which they use to predict climate and weather, how it is going to happen. So there is a tool that we developed and we used it to train farmers for information that they can own. If you see that tool there, the column A1 is a column that has the indicators. They can be called traditional indicators, indigenous indicators, local indicators. The second column, B2, is an explanation of what that indicator means. The third column, C3, is maybe the time span for each of those indicators. If they see it, how long does it take for that meaning to occur? Like if it is onset of rain. And they are saying if they see dew, then in 1 week, then the onset of rain. Then column 4 is about asking whether they have seen it. If they have seen it, then they have a focus on that indicator alone. And then the other 3 columns is basically meant to decide if they have seen an indicator and an indicator has a meaning like onset of rains, what decision can they make? What message can they pass to the others? What advisory can they give others? So this is the tool that is used for generating information in the village in the absence of the meteorological climate information. Now, this page is where we have done a summary of all the information we have generated from those group works. The other one was a group work. This is a summary. And if you look at the summary, there is a list of indicators under column A1. And then the meaning of those indicators, if it means rainfall is coming, if it means a dry spell is coming, if it means drought is coming, and how long will it take to occur. Now, if you look at that, you can tally those things. The areas of dry spell, we are saying below normal rainfall. The areas of rainfall heavy, we say above normal, and we can tally them together and get the same percentages like the meteorological department also get their percentages, like 35% above normal, 25% normal, 42% below normal, so that these farmers can also have information that they can own, and there is an advisory, a message, which can go with each of that information on each indicator, which they can use to advise their fellow farmers in the village. We have seen an indicator which is showing a dry spell is coming. What do we need to do? We have seen an indicator which explains that rainfall is coming in the next 1 week. What do we need to do? So that by the time the meteorological agency is bringing their rainfall information, the farmers already have theirs and they can now compare. That is what is called cogeneration of climate information. So I want to stop there. And if there is a question, I can add other information based on the question that has been asked.
Thank you very much, Job, for that exciting presentation. Mr. Kenneth, I'm giving the e-mic to you so you can talk more about what is happening in Tanzania within the space that you work. Mr. Kenneth?
Yes, Frida, just representing Mr. Kenneth as long as he has, he had medical emergency. Yeah, so I'll explain how CRAFT has been interacting with finance institution in Tanzania. First is in terms of TA, whereby we emphasize the need for the bank to understand the projection of climate change. We are also highlighting on the impact on the productivity and income, and as well as business performance of various actors along the several value chain. And also we are highlighting on the suitability map and the productivity potential of the value chain in question. But as a bank, they are always hesitating to provide financing loan to these smallholder farmers or medium and small enterprise in fear of collateral and the misorganization of these farmers. That's why the bank in Tanzania are most focusing on the cash crops. You find a number of banks lending their money to growers in the cashew nut, in the tea, in the cotton, sisal, all the crops that are well structured. And very few are investing in the non-structured value chain. The value chain that CRAFT is mainstreaming. But with the presence of CRAFT, some banking industry are now changing toward the approach. Now they are also considering lending farmers through their group or through their AMCOs or through their SACCOs, whereby farmers from their respective SACCOs are registering to the bank to access the input loan. We have the case of Isoweru, where Rachel is coming from. It has managed to secure a loan from a particular bank to the extent of enabling their members to access farming input, mostly seeds and the fertilizer and the other agrochemicals that are used to boost their crop performance and hence increase their productivity. Again, later on, I will present the cases as to how the market system that has been mainstreamed by Craft from a particular business champion, how it worked and how it incorporated most of the climate services that the company should adhere to, and also the banking people or financing institutions should also consider when they are thinking of rendering the money to these SMEs. So shortly, the reason why this banking industry in Tanzania are failing to invest or to lend money to these smallholder farmers is because of the market fragmentation that exists and the uncoordination of the farming practice itself. I think that's all that I was able to gather after interacting with the banking industry in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you for that good representation of the bank, Geoffrey. And within the same thinking, I would like to hear from Patrick. Patrick, how does Agritera support cooperatives in their service delivery, especially related to climate change adaptation? What has Agritera been doing?
Thank you very much, Frida. Well, I would like to reflect in terms of our role as Agritera. Well, my name is Patrick Agadi. I work for Agritera as a business advisor. And Agritera is an organization that is an expertise in cooperative development across the world. And one thing we came to learn from the Craft project, despite us having a lot of expertise in working with cooperative, is that there is a specific dynamic with cooperatives that are working in arable crops, simply because of their market disaggregation. So failure of the public or collapse of the public extension services and the high cost of transaction for smallholder farmers. So the cooperatives are coming in or comes into very, very strongly to be able to bridge those gaps, to provide critical services to build resilience for smallholder farmers. This includes extension services. They also, where the smallholder farmers are able to access extension services like agronomy, as it has been mentioned by some of the cooperatives here. Cooperatives also come in to provide economics within the farming, where smallholder farmers are aggregated together to be able to get linkages to the market. And these cooperatives now get links to commercial partners or SMEs, for that matter, who are key off-takers. Yeah, so if you reflect on the cooperative model, is one of the most inclusive model there is, given that it is able to accommodate everyone within a community based on these the 7 principles. One of the principles of cooperative being voluntary and open membership. Yeah, so what we've been able to do within the cooperative sector in these 3 countries is that we've been able to support them and pairing both the technical assistance services as well as financial support, where we've been doing on the core investment approach, as well as also capacity building on the institutional and business framework of the cooperatives. So when you look at or we reflect on some of the cooperatives we've been able to work with, we've been really instrumental in market linkages to create a demand pool for the cooperatives and for the smallholder farmers, as it is in the case of Starlight and Kamplombois that we've been able to work with in Kenya and also across the border in Uganda and Tanzania. Also strengthening the sustainability of the services that they offer. For instance, we know that there is the collapse of the public extension services. So cooperatives play a very, very instrumental role because resilience is also a function of access to these services, which enable them to adopt new technologies of production. So we've been able to support these cooperative establish services that are profitable to them. And these services will be able to sustain themselves in a profitable manner, even after their project period. This includes aspects of mechanization, as we see in Starlight, making it and making it more as a business, agro input shop that is able to support the sustainability of the extension, which is linked now to sale of agrochemicals. And this way we can sustain the service delivery for the smallholder farmers even beyond the project period.
Okay,
thank you.
We pause there, and I'm coming back to you, Felix. How have the companies or how have the different actors you're working with, especially farmers, how have they incorporated the weather information that is coming from, for example, the cogeneration processes that we've seen from ILRI or any other weather information? It could be from meteorological departments. How are the companies adapting to that, and how are the farmers taking that up? Felix.
Yes, for the weather information, especially from the Meteorological Authority, it's been up, top, bottom, this approach, and we've been collecting the information, and once we analyze and we see that there's a projection of rain, we use a bulk SMS approach and share to our members that it's projected that this rain onset will be coming at this time, or we have no more rain for the next 3 months, please let's plant. And so farmers have been relying on that with some few challenges, because the National Meteorological Authority of Uganda does weather predictions in a zone wider space. So we had a few challenges of some areas, the neighborhood getting rain and the specific neighborhood is not having. But then locally, we have the groups, the farmer groups, whom we've grown into schools with the TOTs, sharing experiences at farm level. And often we get feedback from farmers that though the meteorology is saying this, there's a hill just next to us. When the clouds have not touched that hill, there can't be any serious rain. So also we've been getting that feedback, and it's working. Even in terms of pests, there are particular types of moths that farmers would rely on to say that indeed this is likely to be much damage than otherwise. So the bottom-up sharing of information from the farmers through the TOTs, through their groups, we've been also using that and sharing to other groups that have not built the experience well. We've had a very detailed training from craft to us, the cooperative staff, and also the TOTs on the farmer field school. And that, in fact, I have to say it's a new approach, and we are continuing to learn more from the farmers as the farmers learn also from us.
Thank you very much, Felix, for that response. At the moment, we are looking at the questions by the audience, and as you can guess, we are addressing them as we move. The next question goes to Job. Job, in 2 minutes, could you talk about insurance and answer, for example, how are we able to convince farmers to insure their crops at craft, that is?
Yeah, insurance is a low-key intervention. Even before you come into, I'm very sorry, I'm in a very noisy place, but I hope you hear me.
Yes,
even before you come into the insurance of agriculture and specifically index insurance, insurance is a very low key scale intervention, and in the agriculture space and in crops and on index insurance, each of the 3 craft countries already has a program that is supported by both the public sector and the private sector at the scaling level. The scaling started in Kenya. Uganda has a scaling program. Tanzania was just starting a scaling program before COVID came in, so theirs have not picked up, but they are picking up. What we are seeing is that insurance pilots, especially index-based insurance, has been there for more than 20 years, and purely private sector index insurance has not picked up. So our advice is probably a public-private partnership on index insurance, because index insurance is a public good to some extent and a private good to some extent. So there is need for a combination of both public and private model for it to move. Craft has not gone into it since we started, but we have that example of the scaling initiatives by each of the countries.
Thank you very much for that response, Job. And thank you so much, participants and our panelists, for joining us this afternoon. We had to make this very quick in the interest of time and to keep whatever timelines we had. We've heard about very many different interventions that are happening that are very important for building climate resilience and mitigation. And it's a whole mix of things, including access to the right information or climate information, access to inputs that is embedded within the farming models. We've heard about the different services that different actors are offering to the farmers and different customers in their segments. We've also heard about the importance of matching that with market as incentive and also as a risk mitigation towards ensuring that farmers are still able to get what they want. And Job has talked about insurance as the last one. What we can pick from this is that the right basket of interventions is very important for bolstering climate resilience and ensuring that whatever packages we have are matched with farmers' needs and market needs. We've also heard about the importance of thinking of climate risk mitigation via insurance again from the different actors. And the challenge, and that challenges are also opportunities from Nancy's experience as a private sector actor. Among the other things from ILRI, we picked the importance of equipping farmers and key informants with, key clients with the relevant information. And you're talking about co-generating this with the meteorological and of course other actors. And finally, sustainability of services is very crucial when it comes to considering the various interventions and strategies that we are looking at for climate resilience and climate adaptation. And ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I will log off in terms of the mic and hand it over to the Resilience Hub to close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frida. And I think you said it so well in terms of just the suite of options available for building resilience that have been shared today, and it's just a very innovative and interesting work. So thank you very, very much. There was so much in the session and it was fascinating. And I just want to encourage everyone to join the next session, which is starting soon, on confronting the climate crisis in African cities and how urban poor communities are driving locally led adaptation and building resilience. And I also wanted to end off by just apologizing to Laureen, who I accidentally removed from the session because I was trying to pin her photo for a Twitter post. So I'm incredibly sorry, Laureen, that I took away your opportunity to be at the session. And it just, again, a learning about how things can go wrong with Zoom. So my apologies. And all the very, very best, and continue this extremely good work. Thank you for being at the Hub and having a session at the Africa Hub.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, all participants. Much appreciated.
Thank you.